Truth Seekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truth Seekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truth Seekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truth Seekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truth Seekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers.
Greetings and salutations and welcome back. Today we're doing a double shot of shows because I'm kind of committed to doing a certain number of shows each week, and tomorrow may be unable to do a show. I'm hopeful though that I can still do that. Tomorrow I have some things to do, and then I have to get to the cabin and get all these materials, this roof material and all this other stuff. So earlier today, I offered everyone a ticket to get on the Kerry Cassidy crazy train. It's a fun ride, friends. Aliens, mer people, let me see, Draco reptilian aliens fucking people and eating people. Let's see what else. Stargates in Iraq that open up, and soldiers didn't know it, but the Iraq War wasn't about oil or Saddam Hussein. It was about those fucking reptilian aliens trying to fuck people and eat them. So we sent troops over there to fight them, and then we screen blanked their memories and mind wiped them, so they didn't know they were fighting reptilian aliens that like to fuck people. Yeah, and all manner of crazy bullshittery this woman is involved in. For those that don't know, she rose to prominence with something called Project Camelot, which was started in 2006 by her and Bill Ryan. Bill Ryan and her split. Bill Ryan now runs the Avalon forums, which is an interesting place because many of these so-called whistleblowers came out of Project Avalon. There's many of them that somehow got their start telling their bullshit stories. It's almost like a proving ground. Like if you want to be a secret space program bullshit insider, you go to Project Avalon, you mine the forum for good bullshit stories, you try out your bullshit stories on some of the users over there, and then you go public. It's happened multiple times so far at Project Avalon, but that's time for another story. Kerry Cassidy basically rose to prominence being an early adopter of YouTube. She was the first person that was really, her and Bill Ryan, that were really uploading content about UFOs and aliens and conspiracy world, secret space programs, faces on Mars, all that shit in 2006, some 14 years ago. Since then, her show has, her following has steadily declined. She has a huge subscriber base, but the numbers just don't reflect currently anywhere near the numbers that they used to get. Probably because she has just gone deeper and deeper into crazy land. Her, like many people, I've noticed a trend with some of these UFO con artists, huckster, alien, bullshit, fairy tale salespeople, and that eventually they get superpowers. This was true in the case of Bob Dean. Bob Dean came out with a very credible story, Air Force, distinguished looking gentleman, telling a story about being briefed about something called the assessment, which was a document briefing given to high-ranking officials in the military about the UFO and alien presence on Earth. And while no one was ever able to prove or disprove the actual existence of this thing called the assessment, that was his whole story for quite some time. Fast forward to many years later, and those people at the UFO conferences got tired of that same old story from Bob Dean, and suddenly he was a psychic and had superpowers. We see this happening again in the case of Clifford Stone. Clifford Stone came out and told the story. He was a sergeant in the United States Army, told the story about being part of Project Moondust, or was it Moonbeam? I think it was Moondust, and he went around interfacing with aliens and recovering crashed flying saucers for the United States Army. That was his initial story. Years later, now he's got all kinds of superpowers lately. If you talk to him now, his story changed. These stories got bigger and more grand as time went on. And Kerry Cassidy is no different, because Kerry Cassidy suddenly decided that she was, a precog. Yeah, a psychic. She has psychic dreams, and anytime that she needs proof of something, she does something that we're now calling the crazy Kerry Cassidy prover maneuver. If somebody presses her for proof of what she's talking about, she suddenly starts talking about her secret superpowers and how she had precognitive dreams, prophetic dreams about it. So it must be true. Either that or another part of the crazy Cassidy super prover maneuver is to suddenly invent a source that she just talked to, a high-ranking military official that she never names. It's the crazy Kerry Cassidy prover maneuver. Listen to her talk. You will hear her do crazy Kerry Cassidy prover maneuver time and time again every time she's pressed for proof of her bullshit stories. Folks, proof of her bullshit stories do not exist. So I found this really entertaining video. People, listen, people like drama amongst these UFO huckster fraudsters. Let me see. People like the drama, like what happens backstage among these people? Do they all get along? Most of them do. They've all got to work together at these UFO conferences and help each other keep their UFO cons going. Help each other tell their alien bullshit stories. And but occasionally you see some cracks in the relationships between these UFO hucksters. For those that don't know, there really is a generally unwritten rule among all these UFO alien storyteller people, which basically goes something like this. I know my stories are fucking ridiculous. I know I don't have any proof of any of the shit that I talk about, but don't tell anybody or critique me for having absolutely no proof or terrible proof in the form of so-called sources that turn out to be child rapists or convicted murderers, convicted felons, convicted burglars. The unwritten rule is don't tell anybody about my bullshit con game, right? Don't tell anybody I'm lying, and I won't tell anybody you're lying, because most of them are lying, or at the very least, they are really stretching anything close to the truth. So there's that unwritten rule. And they generally do all try to get along and be nice and never backstab or talk shit on each other. Because if somebody were to start talking shit on each other, that might ruin the UFO con and people would stop buying their bullshit. But once in a while, friends, once in a while, two of these clowns disagree big time. And tonight, we're going to see one of those times. Here's what happened. Kerry Cassidy, crazy Kerry Cassidy, has been running around telling these stories about reptilian alien overlords fucking people and eating people. Yeah, boy, that's terrible. These aliens are not nice. They like to fuck people. And by the way, why would a reptilian alien want to fuck a primate human? I don't know, but according to Kerry Cassidy, they love to fuck humans. They take humans as sex slaves and they fuck them for a while. And when they get done fucking them, what do? They eat them. The reptilian overlords fuck you for a while and then they eat you. So crazy Kerry Cassidy's running around telling these ridiculous stories about reptilian overlords, evil aliens that the Nazis were working with and that the Chinese government is in contact with, right? And Steven Greer, Mr. Love and Light, meditate your way into alien contact. Yes, Steven Greer sells an app where you too can contact aliens through meditation and bullshittery. But Steven Greer's famous claim is that there are no malevolent or evil ETs. They're all good ETs. They're all our space brothers, and they don't want to hurt us. They want to help mankind ascend into a new age of enlightenment. So crazy Kerry Cassidy gets to interview Steven Greer and has a real problem with him not acknowledging the existence of those Draco reptilian aliens that like to anally probe people and fuck people and eat them. And she's going to give him the business because, God damn it, Steven Greer, how dare you tell people that there aren't reptilian aliens that like to fuck people and anally probe them and eat them? Okay? You don't have the right to do that, Steven Greer. And this video that we're going to feature tonight basically features them having a nice argument about aliens either being all benevolent, all evil. Yeah, it gets a little boring. I skipped ahead about 20 minutes because for the first 20, I think, listen, one thing I'll say about crazy Kerry Cassidy is that she's a little bit like me. When I have an interview that I think might get contentious or, have some fireworks, I do what's called front loading. generally. And I got taught that by a real journalist. I asked a real journalist friend of mine when I started my first show. I knew that I was going to have an interview like that. And I went to him and I said, listen, I got to gotcha this guy, and I'm going to be asking him really tough questions, and he's going to get pissed off at me. How do I do that? And what my journalist friend said is, you front load, throw them a bunch of softballs first, get a rapport, gain their trust so that they know you're not a complete and total asshole. Then you hit them with the hardball questions. This is kind of what Kerry Cassidy did in this interview. She was very cordial for a little while. Then she starts hitting them, and shit gets good. So tonight, look, we all need a laugh. And I haven't seen this video. I remember when this first came out. It came out in 2009. And I watched this and laughed my ass off at these two clowns arguing over their make-believe space aliens, right? They're both so fucking passionate in their beliefs, right? Kerry Cassidy's on the side of, there's Draco reptilian overlords and they fuck people and eat them. How dare you, Steven Greer, say they're all good? What about the ones fucking people and eating them? And Steven Greer's like, no, Kerry Cassidy, there's no evidence. We've had hundreds of contacts and they've all been benevolent. There are space brothers. It's fucking hysterical. These two asshole clowns arguing over whether aliens are all good or bad. Oh, and listen, earlier today, in case you missed it, I gave everybody a ticket to get on the Kerry Cassidy crazy train, okay? If you missed earlier show today, stay with us for now, but watch it and it'll give you some context into the beliefs of this crazy bitch. This crazy bitch believes anything. And murderers come to her and say they were in the secret space program. And she goes, okay, I'm going to tell your story, Mr. Murderer that's been in jail for 35 years. Or a child molester, a guy that is on record as being court-martialed for molesting children will come to her and tell her stories about fighting reptilians, aliens on Mars, and she runs with their stories. She'll fucking believe anything. And again, if she doesn't need any proof, she just makes up proof. I have a high-ranking intelligence officer I spoke to today, or I'm a precog. I have superpowers, and I had prophetic dreams about this. It's ridiculous, friends. So welcome. You got your ticket to the Kerry Cassidy crazy train. And the train is about to leave its station tonight. We're going to share this video, and we're going to watch her and Steven Greer argue about aliens, because it's gold. It's just gold, friends. And listen, Kerry Cassidy, don't you dare fucking copyright strike me. Don't you dare fucking try to copyright strike me. You know what? I got to do something right now. 1 second. I meant to do this before the show, and you'll have to excuse me, folks. I am a terrible, terrible show host sometimes. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to create a new banner. How come it doesn't like that? Okay, 1 second. We are educating the public and critiquing the video share. Okay. Well, I think that'll be good enough for now. Transformative is not, I guess it's not found in the dictionary. Well, it wants it to be 2-word. I think it's fine. Okay. Okay. So, crazy Kerry Cassidy, don't you dare fucking copyright strike me. She owns the video. Well, her and Bill Ryan, and I'm okay with Bill Ryan. I think Bill Ryan would be okay with me sharing this. And Kerry Cassidy, you should be, because you share shit as fair use. So don't you dare fucking copyright strike me just because I'm going to make fun of you. I'm allowed to make fun of you because you say stupid shit. You say ridiculous, stupid shit. I'm allowed to share your video. While I'm going to stop it every once in a while, I'm going to comment on it. Okay, this is fair use. And just another thing, 1 second, friends. I got to do one more bit of business, and that is, again, I'm a terrible show host. I don't know what's going on, but YouTube used to give me the show link before. YouTube would once give me Up until the last couple of days, YouTube would give me the show link before the show went live, and I could post it on Twitter. Lately, I have to wait until the show is actually live before it will let me know what the show link is. So give me just 1 second, friends. I'm going to tweet this link out so we get everybody in. In the meantime, I want to welcome everybody. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. We're going to laugh. We all need a laugh, right? Okay, let's all laugh at Kerry Cassidy and Steven Greer argue about aliens. All right, friends. Join me in the live chat. And I'm sorry, friends, I'm going to try to be a little bit more organized. This is kind of last minute today. I wanted to get this one, in the books and out of the way. 1 second. Show link here. All right, friends. Yeah, and then we can move on with our presentation. I don't know how much of this we're going to be able to get through, though. It's a pretty long video. Even cutting off 20 minutes, that leaves us with about 50 minutes. But I think they only argue for a good 30 or 40 of that. So maybe if they start being nice at the end again, we'll just drop out. So again, fair use. This is transformative work. We're educating the public about Kerry Cassidy and her ridiculous claims of aliens that like to fuck people and eat them. We're educating the public about Steven Greer, who believes that they're all our space brothers and they don't want to fuck us or eat us. I believe Steven Greer doesn't believe that aliens want to fuck us or eat us. But I could be wrong. I reached out to Mr. Steven Greer for comment, asking him if he believes that any aliens want to fuck us or eat us, and he has not returned my calls or emails, friends. So we're going to share the screen, and we're going to go to the video. This video is from 2009. And oh, by the way, I didn't give Bill Ryan credit in this. I didn't mention that Bill Ryan's kind of arguing with him too, because Bill Ryan claims in this video that he was an alien abduction victim, and he didn't believe that it was a my lab or the government doing it. He believes it was aliens, bro. So yeah, shout out to Bill Ryan, who was also in on this interview. But we titled the video, I think appropriately, "Let's All Laugh at Kerry Cassidy and Steven Greer arguing about aliens," because it's mostly them doing this back and forth. So this is fair use. Let's, and again, I fast forwarded because the first 20 minutes or so, they were pretty chill. They weren't really going at each other.
Dimensional and materializing flesh and blood through these electronics. So a lot of these things that people are seeing have nothing to do with interstellar and extraterrestrial. So when I talk about the interstellar civilizations that also have transdimensional capability, you can't go through interstellar space at the speed of light or less. Right. But there's a cosmological indigestion happening within ufology and disclosure that I find disturbing, because people are conflating interdimensional with extraterrestrial with PLFs that are program life forms, man-made, and all of
program life forms. This is one of Steven Greer's stupid fucking theories, is that the government is abducting people with PLFs, program life forms. They're made to look like aliens, but they're not.
This is being put together as if it is one thing, and it isn't. It's unfortunately much more complex than this, and this is exactly why.
Yeah, and I just want to say, what's the deal with Steven Greer, and why does it look like he's got a big fucking camel toe right there? This is not a good look for Steven Greer. He looks like he's got a big camel toe there. That is gross, bro. Cross your legs or something if you've got a vagina.
I agree with that as well. It's very common.
This is why when Martin Cannon back in the late 80s.
I'm not wrong, right? That's a big fucking he's got a big fucking camel toe. Gross, Steven Greer. Put your vagina away, bro, or wear some kind of better underwear, bro.
Put together a 2,000 footnoted paper and collection proving the military human involvement with abductions, and that the creatures they were using were not ET. There wasn't some alliance between the Majestic and these ETs. The ETs wouldn't bother with them. Now, I say they're aliens, but they're not extraterrestrials. Okay, and now we're getting into, and people say I'm being cheeky. I'm not, because these are very bizarre creatures. And some of them even...
You know, and I just want to stop this for a second. Let's look at this scene. This is apparently backstage at a UFO conference, but like, these are the cream of the crop, the top of the ufology field. And look at it, looks like they got an old fucking sheet and just hung it behind them. Like, this is, wow, what a great production. Jesus Christ.
I'm going to take it one step further.
And Steven Greer's wearing sandals with no socks. I don't know what's worse, sandals with no socks or sandals with socks. Either way, you're a douchebag. If you walk around in sandals and long pants, you're an asshole.
You've all heard of Roswell. And you've all heard of that there have been a number of electromagnetic weapon systems that have targeted and knocked down interstellar vehicles. Not at a great kill rate.
When that flashes, sometimes it's YouTube checking that we're complying with the terms of service. Again, this is a transformative work.
In the early days. I hate to use the word kill rate, it's terrible, but it's become more and more efficient since SDI and since the 90s, frankly, and particularly in the last 5 or 10 years. What happened, however, in the early days, they had enough crude stuff. Of course, we had things like the Philadelphia experiment.
The Philadelphia experiment was a hoax, you idiot. You're supposed to be a doctor. You're supposed to be a learned man. You're a fucking idiot if you mention the Philadelphia experiment as anything more than a fictional bullshit story.
Did not happen in Philadelphia. It happened in Rhode Island. That was the cover story.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's another discussion. It was in the 40s. And so there were very advanced electronics that were already being used. And by the time the extraterrestrials showed up when we were detonating nuclear weapons, we were able at Roswell, at our only nuclear bomb squadron, to have one of these weapons in a radar dome or configuration that caused the two of those to crash.
Right.
There were bodies on that. Some of them were living. And I have a witness who actually handled one of the living ones as late as 1950, 51, here in Virginia, not far from where I live, at Camp Perry, Pearry, very top secret facility. Now,
Steven Greer loves to talk about his witnesses, and he, like Kerry Cassidy, doesn't name them, so you can never check on the bullshit that he's spewing out of his mouth. Steven Greer, tell us who the witness is so that we can talk to him and verify anything about them. You can't, because all of these guys just make up shit on the fly. Oh, my witness, my whistleblower, my insider, bullshit.
What's interesting is that genetic material from some of those bodies have subsequently been cloned from a number of different species. Now, I have a daughter with a PhD in neuroscience and genetics from the most prestigious university.
I'm sorry, but here again, Steven Greer, you fucking idiot. They couldn't clone cells in the 40s or the 50s, and you're a doctor and you should know better.
In the world. And what I've done is I've looked at this sort of what the current state of the art of science is in the non-classified world, is that if they wish to, they could take cells from a human and clone them. Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
imagine.
Yeah, they could in 2009. They couldn't do that in the 1940s or 50s, you asshole. But he's going to claim the black projects could.
What has existed within the classified world, because these are the people who were these were the humans who were the spiritual descendants of Mengele and the Nazis, and Werner von Braun, and that whole
You're talking about the scientists.
the scientists who were.
If you're going to tell bullshit stories about alien experiments and cloning, you got to pull in the Nazis and mention Joseph Mengele, another common theme among these UFO con artist grifter assholes. You got to mention the Nazis and the terrible Nazi experiments, because that's what they do. They pull in something that's historically accurate that the Nazis conducted really terrible experiments on human beings? Yes. So they think this leads some credibility, and then they pepper in they pile on top their bullshit story on top of something that is historically and factually accurate. Pull in something real and then icing it full of bullshit.
Were brought into these classified projects and who were at the foundation of the CIA and the early space program. And so the highly compartmented programs that deal with this issue have And this is the thing, everyone talks about the anti-gravity and this and that. What they forget are the enormous advances that have happened between the early 40s and now in genetics and bioengineering and neuroscience.
Well,
and
actually,
those have gone into application where they now have created these creatures that people think, oh, that's an extraterrestrial. I say it is not an extraterrestrial. So the whole thing is deliberately become confused so that...
What's more far-fetched, that there's extraterrestrials visiting Earth, or that our United States government cloned and made extraterrestrial alien programmed life forms out of genetic material that crashed at Roswell? It's just so far-fetched. There's no proof or evidence of any of this shit. More bullshit. God, it's getting thick in here.
People will make an assessment that there are the good aliens and the bad aliens. And if we step the Cowboys and Indian mindset, they can then divide the human race into another war footing that will fulfill the majestic plan that was hatched in the 50s, that will take us, as Douglas MacArthur said.
Yes, and you gotta fold in Majestic 12, which is based on unproven documents that have never been verified to be real about a secret government group of 12 people that deal with the alien presence on planet Earth. And it was leaked and never proven that those documents were real.
In his last address to the Congress, to interplanetary war, and that which is the World War III they want. So most of retail ufology, I would say 90+% of it, has embedded within it this message and this information and these images for the purpose of majestic. Now, I think people do it completely innocently because
I want to ask a direct question here because this is personal, and I haven't said this on camera before, so here we go. I'm an abductee, and I'm a mountaineer, and I was abducted out of my tent in December 1981 in the Himalayas on the slopes of Makalu, which is in Nepal, on the border of Tibet. And that wasn't done by the military. This was done in December, in winter in the Himalayas, and I was taken out of my tent, floated over the glacier in the middle of the night, and it was minus 40 degrees.
And interestingly, Bill Ryan never told that story until he interviews Steven Greer, and suddenly he's also been abducted by aliens.
This wasn't the military who were doing that. They couldn't do that.
Well, I'm not saying all contact has been military. I'm being very specific. I'm saying that there's enough. Let's look. If you have a nugget of gold and you dump a whole bunch of fool's gold on it, then no one's doing an assay. And the question becomes, what part of it is extraterrestrial? What part of it is interdimensional? What part of it is man-made? And what part of it is some mixed up where people... And here, I'll make it a little more complicated.
Kerry's getting pissed. Crazy Kerry Cassidy's getting triggered. It's going to start soon. I don't think that I forward this enough, so I apologize. We have to sit through this diatribe of bullshittery of Steven Greer with his camel toe. Look at, he's got a fucking camel toe. I can't focus. All I see is a fucking man with a camel toe in khaki pants and fucking sandals, and that's gross.
People who've had ET contact, and when these classified projects find out about it, they will then target them for an abduction so that their paradigm and their perception of this will become confused.
Okay, but
I'm confused.
I think what happens here is that we are aware of this level that you're talking about. We're aware of all these different dimensions because we basically not dimensions, but dimensions of this argument because we have been exposed to these levels by different secret witnesses, okay? Yes, her secret witnesses like murderers and child rapists. Sure. I think if we have a disagreement, what it is I don't know if it's completely, it's not an either or question. It's a how much. It's a percentage, as you say. It's going to be, is there sometime abductions that are ET related, that are real ET related? Okay, and handled by a certain group.
Yeah, Steven Greer claims that all the abductions are being carried out by the United States military, and it's a psyop, and those aren't aliens abducting us, because aliens are our space brothers and good, and they wouldn't hurt humans or fuck them and eat them, right?
The VTs. Is there a MyLab element to it, and is that maybe the largest portion? Highly probable. Okay, but is it exclusively that there are only good ETs? I think that when you extrapolate that That's where I have a problem, because
Well, I think the problem
that
is
that's
with the
philosophically
caricature of
a problem,
the
a limited way of looking at reality.
No, I think the problem is a Manichaean view that has to divide entire species into good and bad. This is precisely
I love when people use words like that. Manichaean. Can somebody tell me what Manichaean means? I got to look this up. Manichaean view.
Hitler did when he would say, the Jews are bad and they're dirty and they're this. I think we have to be extremely
Well, I don't think it's
careful.
necessary to do that quite so much as it is in terms of the overall. I mean, we're talking universes. Okay, we're talking multiple species out there that go, beyond this solar system, certainly, and we're talking about life in general.
But the point is,
I don't think that we can sit here and make a statement like what I heard you say on stage yesterday, which was there are no bad ETs.
No, I think you can say that there is no evidence that the planet has been invaded by hostile, is the word I used, civilizations.
So far,
that have an intent.
that you have not. In other words,
you can't prove a negative. This is axiomatic.
Well,
what I can say,
we have a problem.
You can't prove a negative.
In other words, that's the point.
But that is the point. You can't prove a negative, but what you can do is go with the evidence that you do have. And one of the sets of evidence we have for CSETI, which has gone around the world and made contact all over the world with thousands of people, we have never had a harmful event happen. We have never had.
Well, there you have it. He's never been fucked or eaten by an ET. Therefore, there are no ETs that fucking eat people. I think that may be sound logic. Crazy Kerry Cassidy. How are you going to argue with that?
Had anything resembling anything that has frightened or harmed anyone on the contact team. On the other hand, we have had members of our team that have been targeted with these psychotronic related military type abduction events, including myself.
Right,
and so what I have to go with is the evidence that I have. And I also know that there is the stagecraft, to use an Institute for Strategic Studies document that I have, that talks about the stagecraft of abductions because of its psychological.
Yeah, that is a great point, Mario Heat. I'm going to stop this and take some comments from the live chat. Mario Heat says, I love how they're arguing about which BS is more legit. Yeah, my bullshit story is much more plausible than your bullshit story. This is crazy. MMS degrades the DNA and, like meth, causes rapid aging. I didn't know that she had those issues. Then a blinding light came from above. Yeah. Oh, geez. Her and Bleach Boys say there must have had an argument. Which brand is better? So they split up. Yeah. Should you drink Clorox or generic bleach? I don't know. 6 cents. The look on Kerry. Yeah. Yeah. And they both look much worse than they did even 2 years ago, like meth. Wait, not fucked by an ET. How do you think he got that camel toe? Yeah. With that sexy camel toe, how could a reptilian alien not want to fuck him, right? This is crazy. I was watching. Oh, I didn't know. Is Wilcox streaming? Jesus Christ, I might have to cover that later tonight. The longest running LARP ever. Lizard versus avians. Yeah, there has been talk of ET crash retrievals that contain human body parts, and apparently that was what gave the government some kind of clue that there was evil aliens. Oh, and Jason Quitt is here, and he's a critic. You said this was going to be funny. I'm getting anxiety listening. All right, listen, I'll try to be funnier. Look, you want me to mention that during this entire video, Dr. Steven Greer has a huge camel toe somehow? I've never seen a man, Jason Quitt, have a fucking huge camel toe ever in my life, okay? And I can't focus and concentrate every time the camera pans down because all I see is a big fucking vagina camel toe right in the middle of his fucking legs. And it's gross, Jason Quitt. I'll try to make it funnier. I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's okay. Paper bag. We'll talk through this. Yeah. Calm down, Jason Quit. And could you do me a favor, Mr. Multidimensional Time Traveler? Could you go back in time and space to this interview and like grab him by the pussy and tell me if that's really a vagina that he's got and a real camel toe, or if it just looks like maybe his balls are hanging weird, or I don't know. I don't know. Steve Ronan thinks that camel toe on him is sexy. See? All right, let's get back to the video. We got a lot to get through here. We're only 30 minutes in. It's an hour and 11-minute video, but I think they stop arguing after a while.
Warfare value to the agenda of an us versus them Manichean worldview that would redound to the benefit of the military-industrial complex. So this is very circular. And I think that what I'm saying is one has to be very careful if you're going to be involved with disclosure and contact and saying, this group is bad, this group is good, we're good and we're bad, and we're slipping right back into the Israelis versus the Palestinians, the Jews versus the Christians, the Muslims versus the...
Yeah, you have to be very careful when you start talking about reptilian aliens, anally probing people, fucking them and eating them. Kerry Cassidy, Steven Greer's going to take you to task over your fucking irresponsible statements about reptilian aliens fucking people and eating them.
Whatever.
But this is not where we're going. I think that's
but if you say that there are bad aliens that are working with a secret government,
the language is actually service to others versus service to self, and that in itself is also a matter of degree.
But you
so
can't
it's not
make that
really
judgment.
good.
See, here's the problem.
Well, none of us can. That's how the whole.
Well, that's my whole point. And I think before one starts going down the path of the sky is falling, and we start unleashing this Manichean worldview of here are the ones that are service to others, and here's the ones that are selfish. I would say that there's some enlightened self-interest everywhere.
And did you notice that reference to the law of one? Be more of service to others than being service to yourself.
And let's back this up just a little further. Let's say that these civilizations...
Especially by the invaders.
By the who?
If there's an invasion race, then enlightened self-interest is going to be the predominant model by which they're going to operate, right?
And you're entitled to that. Yeah, I think you're
positing all I'm doing here. Look, until it actually happens in black and white.
Who has been invaded? And
there is evidence. In other words, you can get evidence.
I'm pretty sure, Steven Greer, the people that got fucked by those, he's very insensitive, because I'm pretty sure the people that got fucked by those reptilian aliens felt invaded, okay? How do you get fucked by a reptilian alien and not feel invaded, Steven Greer, you insensitive prick? What about all those victims of reptilian rape, Steven Greer?
Evidence on both sides of the question.
Well, but to characterize it as an invasion, what if there is an interstellar group that have different ones of them?
I just want to stop this and mention, thank God he crossed his legs, because I couldn't look at a camel toe on a dude any longer.
Different functions. For example, okay, I'm going to take this a little further. There's one group that has a very specific function. You might call this the Noah's Ark function, that this planet is under tremendous environmental stress. We're losing thousands of species and plants and animals.
Yep.
I've spoken with people about the landing in Provence of this ET craft in a lavender field, and there were these little ETs out picking lavender. And it sounds hilarious.
Just like
what were they doing?
Just like the movie.
Absolutely happened, and it left physical trace. Could there be a human genome project that's trying to protect?
Yeah, and again, if you really just think logically about some of the claims these assholes make, it's fucking ridiculous. You mean to tell me that a super advanced extraterrestrial race came across, thousands of light years maybe to visit Earth to pick flowers, you asshole?
The human genome and a genome project for Gaia, the Earth. There could be all kinds of things going on that are beyond our ability to say, that's happening by people who are selfish and invaders, and that's happening by people who are the good ones.
Yes.
And I think that sort of dichotomy and dualism that I read on your blog is the exact script that Majestic would want people to buy into to support interplanetary war. And I think that there is another.
I think a paranoia over interplanetary war per se, and that scenario is laudable. Okay, in a certain way, we understand that you're coming from a heartfelt perspective when you talk about let's not get caught up in polarities. Okay, but what we don't want to do is analyze this scene, this scenario, and the realities that are out there, and say we've come to definitive statement where we can say there are only good ETs. Now, let me tell you why that's dangerous as well.
And I love Kerry Cassidy. If somebody says something she doesn't like, she just totally interrupts them and interjects her own shit for long periods of time. I have seen a bunch of her interviews, and it's really funny how she injects herself in her own beliefs and doesn't care what the person thinks. She's just trying to force her opinion on them.
Because what that does is leave people, humans, and humanity possibly in general, in a vulnerable position, because they are then going around following ET like the Pied Piper down whatever road they're taken.
No, I've always said.
Yeah, and listen, for once I agree with crazy Kerry Cassidy. If there really are reptilian aliens out there that want to fuck me, I want to know about it. I don't want to go looking for ETs if they're going to fuck me, right?
Unfortunately, you haven't read my books and things, but
Actually, I have.
Well, and I have made it very clear that there are two things that are equally dangerous: the deification of these visitors or the demonization of them. Each are equally dangerous, and I've said this since the early 90s.
And then we're in agreement. But what you said on stage was not that.
I didn't deify them, and I didn't demonize them. My point is that we're living in a universe together. We're going to have to live together in that universe.
Absolutely.
The solutions are not going to be name calling and we're better than you are, and those are in service to self and those are the service to others, and this whole thing. Because I think that we have to look at this from a much larger picture, and that is not only Earth, but the whole cosmos is going through a quantum moment. It is not just an Earth moment, it's a universal moment.
Absolutely.
And the hallmark of which is universal peace. And the hallmark of which
universal
is that,
peace.
and so
I don't think you can have universal peace if these aliens keep coming here and anally probing us and fucking us. That's just my opinion. How's that peaceful, Steven Greer?
it is also
The
true
ideal.
that interstellar civilizations are not allowed to leave their biosphere until they have become in agreement for peace. Now, and
that's a ridiculous statement. There's no cosmic rule that says a warlike race of aliens can't leave their biosphere until they've agreed to be peaceful to other civilizations. That's ridiculous. He's supposed to be a fucking doctor, and he's saying that. And I love how he says stuff like that, like it's just a factual statement, and he doesn't have to prove it or provide any basis for why that's a universal rule of the fucking universe. And who appointed him to decide what the universal rules of the fucking universe are, Steven Greer?
Assumption.
this has been proven because
No way. Nothing has been proven on this planet
if these
to that
civilizations
on that degree of sophistication.
well, if they
there's
were
no
here,
way.
if they were here and they were invading and they were hostile, they would not have waited for us to have the kind of weapons we have today.
I'm pretty sure if they're fucking us, they're hostile. Raping people is hostility, I would think, Steven Greer. Getting fucked by a big reptilian overlord is probably a hostile act. So I'm going to side with Kerry Cassidy. If they're fucking us and raping us and eating us, that's a hostile act. How dare you, Steven Greer?
It would have absolutely shut this civilization down.
On the contrary, I mean,
Let's
there's
get
actually
pissed.
we have to actually get into a whole sociopolitical look at what it is to be an ET spacefaring culture in search of planetoids or planets.
We're in search of humans to fuck and rape and eat, right, Kerry Cassidy?
And building new environments, and then what you do with them. In a sense, you can actually take the Earth as a microcosm, and you can look at how did it go when we took over different continents here.
Yeah,
And what was the
whole
model,
problem.
and then we get to space.
No, this
and
is
we
a
also
huge
have
problem.
to
You're engaging in an anthropocentric projection onto
Anthropocentric? projection. I love his big word salad.
So
As above,
civilization.
so
And you know, when people use words like that or these other little known words, it's always like, I'm smarter than you. He's probably got one of those things on his desk that gives him like a new fucking word every day, like a calendar. I used to have one.
below.
Well,
in other
so in your
words-
belief, but I think that you're completely incorrect.
All I'm
in this.
saying is we're part of the universe and that you can't eliminate, and there's no definitive decision on this part.
Do you
You're
think- do you
making
think our
absolute statements.
Do you think our classified projects have traveled interstellar yet?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they have not. Okay, now, okay.
We've got evidence that they have.
Well, I'd love to see you prove it because, but
We don't have evidence,
My bullshit is better than your bullshit. And here he's going to say,
but
we don't have
in
evidence.
2001, you said that we have superluminal capability.
yes.
What are we doing?
capability.
Going to Pluto with superluminal capability? It takes 5 seconds.
No, because they're not allowed to use it. Now, here's something that there is a quarantine on this planet until we become peaceful.
Oh, the prison Earth hypothesis. I've heard so many different asshole ufology fucking alien people talk about this. We're stuck on this planet. The aliens won't let us leave our Earth. That's why we don't go into interstellar space. Bullshit.
And this is why if you listen,
There's a philosophy
if
that
you
there's
look
a
at-
quarantine.
no, there is. And if you look at even what Neil
But
Armstrong
why?
said,
Because an ET
after-
told you? I mean, really, let's get down to
well,
it.
let's get back.
You're all
Okay,
in
let's talk about what
communication
Neil
with different
Armstrong
races.
was heard saying. It's in Timothy Good's book Above Top Secret. You can read it.
Yep.
And I'm sure you have.
A mind-controlled
You've read
astronaut is what you're talking about. You're going to give me testimony from a mind-controlled astronaut.
it. No,
Let's
but
hear what
he-
is
She's attacking testimony from an astronaut, but her whistleblowers are child rapists and fucking murderers. They're much better witnesses than an astronaut. So that on that one, I got to side with Camel Toe Greer here.
he said that when we were basically warned off the moon, and that's why we didn't continue.
And I
to go.
believe these
And-
warnings exist.
and-
There has
and-
been evidence that we're warned off Mars because certain craft have never made it there, have been shot down, have been disappeared, have had technical problems that haven't
Well,
been
and
explained by
one
NASA.
can put a xenophobic spin on that, or one can say perhaps there's a wiser cosmic order that says that until a civilization reaches a certain amount of stability for the civilization and peace, they are not allowed to travel amongst the stars, that the entry ticket is peace.
How are they going to enforce that? Are they just going to stop us at Pluto? You know, is there some fucking spaceships sitting out at the edge of our solar system that are going to stop us from leaving? It's ridiculous.
And I think that is the situation.
Okay, I understand that's your philosophy.
And that, no, it's not
And-
my philosophy. It's what the evidence. This is not how I started out. This is what I have found to be true from many different witness testimonies and the observation overall and aggregate.
But our witness
of the-
testimony would contradict that.
Well, fine. I'd
So
like
what
to
do you
speak
do
to
with
them.
that? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And maybe we'll have to compare notes because, you know, really, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
this is valuable. Because what happens is, you know, for
Right.
better or worse, we're both out there. We're both investigating these questions, and they are open questions that actually
They are, but I think it's
the
rather unhelpful
information
if you go
hasn't
onto a
been-
blog and say that what I'm saying and doing is
It-
sinister. I think
I
that,
said-
you know, I have never said anything
It
harmful
was,
about you
it's
guys.
insidious.
And here we get into the back and forth, the behind the scenes. Before this interview, Kerry Cassidy wrote a blog post ripping him a new asshole for claiming that all ETs are benevolent. He took offense to that somehow. I think he was sort of more friendly with Bill Ryan, so he agreed to do this interview to set them straight about the blog post she wrote and shit like that. And now it gets to erupt into a little more personal.
It's
And this and that.
insidious.
And I think that
It's
this
because
is
it leads
exactly the other thing. And I'm
vulnerable.
going to absolutely, you know, you invited me to an interview. I'm going to
Sure.
provide an interview. If you want to overtalk everything I say, you can overtalk what I say.
You overtalk us.
But I am telling you that I mean it. And so the point is that if
It's mutual. See, you don't know this, and I'm sorry. We didn't have time to tell you our philosophy of how we conduct an interview, but I did kind of warn
okay, so
you
we want to have
that
a
we had
debate.
differences of
We have
opinion.
differences of opinion, and that's fine. But I think the most dangerous thing we can do is say everyone has partial information,
Right.
to start making sweeping judgments that are negative And you can say, well, it's not
versus him making sweeping statements like all ETs are benevolent. So he's a fucking hypocrite.
negative. We're just saying that they're in service to self versus service to others, and couch it however you wish. But if we go down that path, we're already creating a new cosmological us versus them, which is the absolute recapitulation of the mistake on Earth for the last 10,000 years. I think we can do better than that. I think we have to learn to look at these things. And let's say that everything that your philosophy and how you're viewing this is correct.
That's how it happens.
If it's 100%
That's how we get
correct,
out of Earth
I would
prison.
still say the path of wisdom is education,
Absolutely.
elucidation, engagement peacefully,
Absolutely.
higher states of consciousness.
Yep.
All of this.
Yep.
I don't think it consists in characterizations, name calling, what have you. Now that goes on the diplomatic front and between nations on the earth. And I think we have to be very careful not to engage in that sort of anthropocentric projection of the current state of duality of the human condition on these visitors. I think it may be much more difficult to make those kinds of assessments. But if we go down that path, what we'll be doing is that we'll be dragging the baggage of the old era into this pivotal time.
Yes, we have to all be love and light and peace, and then we can all embrace our space brothers and take our place at the Galactic Round Table, you know, that Galactic Federation that all these assholes talk about. Yeah, that.
Embryonic time where we're trying to transition to a new civilization, the hallmark of which will be universal peace. I don't think we're going to be going into a period of time of competing planetary systems having wars. And I think that this is, although that is the Scientological view and it's many of the eschatologists' view, I think that actually we're going to go through a quantum transformation that's
you always got, if you're one of these UFO fraudster hucksters, you always got to throw the term quantum in. We're going to go through a quantum transformative time frame. What the fuck does that even mean? It's just word salad.
Global and interplanetary that will make this quite clear in the coming years, if not months. I think that time is getting very short.
Yeah, we're going to get disclosure in the coming months. This isn't 2009, you asshole, Steven Greer. Where the fuck is disclosure? He's been profiting from this disclosure profit for what, 20 years now? He's been collecting fucking money after money. By the way, those that don't know it, Steven Greer is the most successful UFO con artist in history. He's collected millions and millions of dollars from this bullshittery that he's been huckstering and selling for 20 years. He's never provided definitive real proof of any fucking thing that he talks about. And by the way, he once claimed that he briefed Woolsey, a CIA director, and that CIA director said, no, I attended some dinner where he was sitting at the table. I wasn't briefed. He just made this shit up. And he refutes that because the men in black must have gotten to him and, you know, shut him up about the briefing he gave him. He's been caught time and time again, just lying through his fucking teeth.
For how much more time we're going to have before there's this large transformation. And I think the other thing is to say, I would say to people, if there is a civilization that is here for their own purely selfish interests and have not a shred of altruism or concern for humanity or Earth, those are the beings I would want to meet with first. And I have said this for years, because you need a diplomatic initiative to North Korea and Iran and China more than you do to Great Britain.
Quantum sounds cool.
Absolutely.
And so this
But
is
you can't be in denial of the
there's no
potentiality.
denial here. I'm not some sort of Pollyanna fool.
Well,
I mean, and that characterization of being in denial. I'm not in denial about anything. I'm just saying that.
Wait. You're personalizing this in a way that it's not personal. In other words, I'm saying what I said is I didn't direct it to
Jan
you.
can give me what you wrote on the blog, and I'll show you what you wrote on the blog.
Excuse me. I said that what you said on stage was insidious, and it's insidious because what it does is leave again humanity. Look, let's both agree
It's a
here.
real mystery.
We are in love.
It's a real mystery.
We both love
It's a mystery.
humanity. We're both here in, to make sure that we make it through this next era.
Yeah, I know.
Okay?
It's creepy, right?
And we can say we have a common goal in that sense.
Absolutely.
And when I say it's insidious, I'm not saying you personally are insidious. What I'm saying is what you're saying leads to an insidious state of affairs. If people out there were to become disarmed and completely vulnerable.
Yeah, Steven Greer, why are you disarming people if those reptilian aliens are coming here to rape us and anally probe us and fuck us and eat us? That's not fair. That's irresponsible. So I side with Kerry Cassidy. You shouldn't be irresponsible if there's reptilian aliens coming to Earth to rape us and anally probe us and fuck us and eat us. She's got a good point.
And allow, like I said, ET to take over the sovereignty of the Earth and of humanity
This is
to
not at all- I've never suggested
develop
that.
on its own. But there are implications to what you're saying when you say
Your implications.
all ETs are good.
Your implications.
And we're
are
using
that.
the words good and bad. Let's be honest. We're using the words good and bad because we have to use language, and we're just using it in a simplistic way
Right.
to cover a very wide spectrum of what it means to be good philosophically and what it means to be bad philosophically. And we're not.
I think I agree with Kerry Cassidy. If reptilian aliens are coming here to fuck us and rape us and anally probe us and eat us, that would be bad, right? That's an overly simplistic view, but yeah. And why would they come through interstellar space just to fuck us and eat us? It doesn't make any sense. Can't they fucking eat people on their own planet or a closer planet? Why do they come to Earth to fuck us and eat us? It doesn't make sense.
Naive, and we're not looking at this in a black and white way. So let's not
But
go
I think
there.
we have to be very careful because that slips into that very quickly. That language slips into that paradigm
Sure.
very, very quickly.
And it could be misleading, and I appreciate that.
And I think it is misleading, but I think the other thing that it's also very dangerous. I think that I'm not at all suggesting that humans disarm. My whole message about humans empowering, not only in consciousness, but in organization and every other way. And moreover, you said, that we need to be armed. Well, yeah, armed with
Genocide
what?
says we're
And
sexy
I
and
think that
delicious.
Well, that's
I think
another
armed with
discussion.
what?
We can talk
Knowledge, but
that's
we're going to
spiritual. I mean,
it is
knowledge,
spiritual,
absolutely.
and this is the chief
So
purpose of CSEC.
knowledge is to question constantly. And so what we're not positing
Yeah,
is
me too.
answers here so much as let's keep exploring. And at no point do we decide that all, quote unquote, all ETs are good. Because suddenly we have a paradigm that says you cannot leave the planet beyond a certain point unless you believe in, quote, peace, and unless you have obtained a certain level of civilization. That means that you are therefore good, all good, because, and they're.
In fact, Gunner 65 here, I'm going to do this. 1 second. Anybody that has good research, we like to share good research. You said you did some research on Randy Kramer and others. 1 second. Here, you can email me there, Gunner65. Email me your research if you would like to just email me stuff and I'll share it. Or if you'd like to be a guest and talk about your research, we would love to have you. We like when people bust these frauds and cons here. That's part of what we do here. I would want to consider your research. So let's put that fair use statement back up. And I'm going to say this one more time. Kerry Cassidy, don't you dare fucking try to copyright strike me. This is fair use. We're educating the public and we're critiquing the video that we're sharing. This is a transformative work. It's definitely covered under fair use. I will use any means at my disposal to fight a fake copyright strike from you. You know this is fair use. I've heard that she gets a little, uppity and copyright strikes people. Don't try it with me, honey. Don't try it with me.
Therefore better than humanity. There's sort of an implication under there.
And your alternative would be what? Conflict with the ones who aren't?
No, that's polarizing.
It's a model of the universe.
So what's your answer then?
I just want to say, poor Bill Ryan has sat here through this whole thing, and I'm not sure, but I think that they were like a couple, Bill Ryan and her, at this time. So he's got to sit here through this whole fucking thing and let his crazy Cassidy girlfriend argue with Steven Greer, and he just got to sit there and say almost nothing through this whole 45 minutes so far.
My answer. Okay.
What's your answer to these ones that are in service?
It's complex. It's more complex.
The ones that you see.
No.
There are no limits.
Okay. My response to this is to agree with you that it's a very complex situation, and there may be alien agendas which we are not able to understand, just like the farmer can't understand what the farmer is doing or what the veterinary surgeon is doing, if you approach a wild animal because you want to give him some food, the wild animal is going to run away because he doesn't trust the human.
Fine, I just made it right as the show was
live.
live.
We may be very presumptuous in our ability to understand, but my point is that it's dangerous, and I'm not even saying it's a deliberate misdirect, but I do believe personally, I believe it is a misdirect to lead people to believe, with the authority position that you have in the UFO community, that if anybody feels that that anything other than all ETs are friendly, then they're somehow working on the side of the Illuminati. That's a polarization that is not true, and we don't agree with that at all. We think that there's a big maybe category where for sure some ETs are friendly. I've met some of them personally. I don't even think that my abduction was ill-intended.
That's good, Gunner65. Please do me a favor, though, and either DM me on Twitter, find me on Facebook, and PM me. It's just Stephen Cambion on Facebook, at Stephen Cambion on Twitter, or email me at truthseekershow. I will put that up again. Email me at truthseekershow. 1 second. Email me at truthseekershow@gmail.com and send me a link of where I can find that. I'd love to have it. I'd love to see it. Somebody has asked me to do a Randy Kramer debunk. I have some of my own material. Maybe you could send me yours and we could do a show just on Randy Kramer and debunking the bullshit, the bullshittery of Randy Kramer. Back to our fair use statement and back to our video. And I think Bill Ryan actually makes a pretty good point here. And he does so much better than Kerry Cassidy. Look, I understand these people are so passionate. And it is funny that they're arguing over whose bullshit is better. But if you ask me, it is a stupid and irresponsible statement. Let's go out on a limb here and say that there's other extraterrestrial races out there. It's stupid to just say they're all good. They're all benevolent. It's just, what are the odds, right? I mean, look at us. What if they're anything like us? They're going to be warlike. They're not going to be all benevolent. Not all of them. That you can't make absolute statements like that about anyone or anything. You know, it's like even the races here on Earth. That's like saying, you know, Asians are peaceful, or you know, Latin people are peaceful, Caucasians are warlike, or you know, whatever, like Russians are warlike, whatever. You can't make absolute statements. People are all different, but to just say that all aliens are benevolent is stupid. And it's assuming facts, not in evidence. He doesn't have any evidence to prove that. He's got his own bullshit theories.
I think that this was a program in some way for something which I'm doing now. You may have had a parallel experience, but I don't know what's happening. I'm willing to roll with that way because I don't think they intended any harm to me, but they sure as hell weren't military. That wasn't a MyLab operation.
No, but my point is, though, here's what I said.
But we don't know
my point
these
is that there's no evidence that these visitors are hostile.
Give me 20 seconds. Yeah, but we don't know.
There is.
Hang on. We don't know, but neither do you. And you shouldn't say that you know when you don't. That's my point.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
actually,
let's get to the place where, you know, the fact is.
I'm saying
Now they're going to gang up on him. Come on, you asshole. You can't say this shit. It's irresponsible. And look at his fucking sandals. God damn it. Who's walking around at a UFO conference wearing fucking sandals and no socks? That's gross. The only thing grosser than that is wearing sandals with socks. But at least he's hiding his fucking big vagina and camel toe, so I'm not distracted anymore. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Steven Greer.
His response to that is he doesn't know, and you're presuming to know.
Exactly.
And you're capitalizing on your authoritative position in the UFO community, and that's irresponsible. Because you're leading people who are feeding off of
You're the fraud. No, you're the fraud.
I'm not irresponsible. I'm trying to do this very responsibly because I know what's at stake if people are led into the path of panic and polarity and duality.
But we're not doing that.
And
we're
absolutely
the opposite direction, saying don't worry about a damn thing.
No, I'm not saying don't worry. I'm saying take because
Why not just
let me
enlighten
tell you,
awareness?
can I answer any of this?
Do it. Go on.
It's a 2-1-1.
I think you're answering it. I think you've been answering it, but go ahead.
No, because you haven't heard my answer yet. My answer is what I consistently say is that there's no evidence that they are hostile and that we have to be
No, Stephen Greer, there's no evidence that they exist, at least no credible evidence.
an armed position in a Star Wars SDI position, and that dealing with it in that way is the last thing that we should be doing.
I agree with that.
Okay.
Okay,
And
so you're
so
assuming
whether or not you
that
cannot,
we're
you can't, let me finish.
Wait a minute.
I cannot say that there is.
Yeah, congrats on the
you can't prove
internet,
the negative. I've said this
Daniel.
3 or 4 times. I can go with
Now
the
you can come be a
evidence I've
guest
seen.
again.
Moreover, I can go with the experience of 19 years of thousands of people in sea study expeditions and the experiences we've had with these visitors, none of which has been fearsome, negative, invasive, none of the sort. The other.
See, this is a ridiculous statement. He's saying that he's had all of these experiences and none of them have been invasive or, or malevolent at any sort. This is like the people coming to the new age or coming to the new world, right? That would be like Columbus coming to America and the first natives that he discovered were friendly. So him saying everyone on this new continent is friendly. That's a presumptive, stupid statement to make. You've only had a certain number of encounters. How do you know there isn't ones that are? According to Kerry Cassidy, they like to fuck us and eat us. It could be. I don't know.
Point that I have to make is that if it were true that there were civilizations that had self-interest and were going around the cosmos colonizing and invading different worlds or planetoids or what have you, then I would say that those are the civilizations we need to find a way to engage. And it isn't going to be down the barrel of a laser weapon or an electromagnetic pulse weapon.
True.
And so
I think you're making a jump. I mean, I have to say,
so
you're
let me
you're
I haven't
making a
finished my
jump.
answer yet.
She won't let him finish. Shut the fuck up, Steven Greer. Listen to me.
To Star Wars from us just saying there may be ETs with some self-interest guiding their
Well, but let's take a step back from humanity for a moment and look at this through the eyes. Let's say there is a civilization like you're describing. I mean, it just,
So what civilization are we describing?
The ones that you think are not in service to others.
We think they may have
agendas.
agendas that are not necessarily in our interest. That's not a polarized position.
right.
Okay, and so, but let's say that's the case.
And it
Let's say
doesn't mean
that-
we want to shoot them in the head either.
Okay,
That's
but
I'm sorry, but if a reptilian alien tries to fuck me, I'm shooting him in the head. I'm just going to put that out there. If a reptilian overlord comes here from Draco Reptilia land and tries to fuck me, I'm going to shoot him in his head.
let's say that's true. I don't think it is true, but maybe I'm wrong. It's possible. I mean, I don't pretend to know everything, but maybe I'm wrong. But let's say that's true. What might have instigated that? Now, let's go back 100 years. We were in horse and buggies and rifles and things. And my grandmother, born in the late 1800s, post-Reconstruction South, saw her son design the lunar module, put the first man on the moon. And now her grandson doing what I'm doing. And we've gone from...
Yeah, he famously has said that his grandfather worked on the Apollo moon missions, but I have not been able... I looked, and I know somebody who works for NASA. We have not been able to find any credible evidence. So if Mr. Greer is watching, I'd like to see evidence that your grandfather worked. I'm not saying that he's lying. I'm saying that I could not. Maybe I'm a terrible researcher. I could not find any evidence of his grandfather working on the Apollo moon missions.
Horse and buggies to the capacity for interstellar travel and anti-grav and dematerialization and trans-dimensional technologies from gunpowder and the early stages of the Industrial Revolution. At the same time, we've gone from rifles and machine guns to thermonuclear weapons. And is it a coincidence that the sort of Pandora's box that opened when we started detonating thermonuclear weapons was because it was having an effect beyond just the Earth transdimensionally? And is it possible?
Yeah, and this is a recurring theme. And I even talked to Stan Freeman about this while he was still alive. He and I talked from time to time, and Stan Freeman believed that the detonation of the nuclear bomb is what caused all these UFOs to start visiting us. You know, the kids found the matches. Steven Greer runs with that theme. Many of these guys run with that theme, that's why we started seeing UFOs in the sky. There's no credible proof of that. And if you really look into UFO history, people have been seeing UFOs in the sky for thousands of years. There's no credible evidence that the detonation of a nuclear weapon is what triggered their visits here. But they all run with that bullshit line.
that the trajectory they saw our civilization going on, these ones that you think may not have our best interests in heart, may have seen us going on a trajectory that if it continued on that trajectory would lead to us going into their neighborhood with weapons of mass destruction, with our unchecked simian tendency towards war making and what have you. And so I'm trying to say, let's look at this for just a moment through another perspective that's non-human, if we can. It's very difficult. We are
the audience.
Look, I met with Robert Salas. He watched the craft fly over, okay, in Montana, the missile silos, and turn them off. I've talked with him in his house about these experiences, as you have in your disclosure project. And we're totally on the same page on that. There's no doubt whatsoever that they came, and they are absolutely adamant that this technology first of all, not happen on the earth, but second of all,
we got to do something for a second. 1 second. I have to share a different tab here to do this. Thank you, Spooky. Why don't I see it? Oh, there we go. This is great. My bullshit is better than your bullshit, okay? My bullshit stories about aliens are much more believable and credible than your bullshit stories about aliens. And someone commented in the live chat, yeah, it's much easier to sell the E.T. Space Brothers thing than it is to sell the fear porn, they're going to come here and fuck you and eat you version of aliens, right? I think it's probably somewhere in between. Listen, if there's really aliens, I think there's got to be good and bad. That's my personal opinion. That's my personal belief. You may have a different opinion, but for anybody to say they're all evil or they're all benevolent and are space brothers and good and love us is stupid. It's just not logical. It's not credible. It doesn't make any sense. It's just an absolute statement with no support whatsoever. But then again, there's no true and real and verifiable evidence of alien life. So why are we even arguing about this shit? But here we are. Now let's get back to our, and by the way, Spooky, don't you try to copyright strike me for using a graphic you sent me. That was fair use too, okay? Okay, let's get back to the argument.
Not go beyond, and that it's actually interdimensional in its destructive
yes, I'm very aware of this.
Yeah.
And so,
So what kind of
I think we're in agreement on that.
And therefore, what kind of provisions and things are going on as a consequence of that? And so I always say, everyone starts getting into, this alien agenda and that alien agenda. And I would say, what would be more constructive is that the human agenda be fixed. Yeah. That we learn to live on this planet and fix our own home, create a peaceful civilization, rather than worrying about other motives from other civilizations. And here's what I predict.
Yeah, they do say, a lot of people say that nuclear weapons have devastating effects in other dimensions. But, as they traveled to other dimensions, do they have a statement from the people living in the other dimensions? Do they have any proof that nuclear weapons even affect the other dimensions? No, but they all run with that bullshit narrative. Yeah, it's a common theme among these con artists, grifter assholes. Oh, look, we're up to 50 minutes, so we just have about 20 minutes left. I don't know how much more we're going to do.
If we were to do that and learn to live together without clubbing each other over the head and killing each other on this planet, and is so below, so above, that we would see a change perhaps in the cosmic order for that reason. So rather than engaging in debates and speculation about the agenda, perhaps harmful aliens and this and that, I would say, why don't we create a civilization of abundance and of peace and of enlightenment?
I want her to be my life
and
coach.
Go into space with that intent and see what the response to the cosmos will be then. Well, it may be the response that we're getting now is a directly proportional response, karmically and otherwise, to what we have been doing to each other.
We are attracting.
In the last 100 years, we have killed 160 million of our own fellow humans. And I think that if you reflect on that, And I was seeing an interview with Robert McNamara towards the end of his life, where he was reflecting on the terrible mistakes he made in Vietnam and the other wars of the 20th century. And what I think is that there needs to be a sort of let's look at ourselves. And I think that many times.
Let's not do that to the exclusion. It's not an either or question. In other words, what I hear you saying is let's be a little more sort of earth-centered in our view of reality and not worry about the agendas of those other beings out there. And let's concentrate on building our nest and making it a good, healthy place and playing nice with each other. And
no, it's not either or. I'm saying let's do that. That's why we're doing the OrionProject.org.
We have absolutely no disagreement with that.
That's why we're also doing the contact diplomatic effort. And we invite all these, we always invite all these civilizations.
But actually,
yeah, and I think that OrionProject.org was him collecting tons of money to create a free energy device. And after collecting, I think, hundreds of thousands of dollars, at the very least, he collected at least $100,000. He produced nothing. $100,000 in donations, produced nothing for his free energy donators.
You're assuming that there's no intervention going on. And I think this is getting to the root of the question. In other words, do you know about screen memories? Because you must know about them if you've been as deep as you have.
Well, yeah, the psychotronic programs that have been in existence
for
many years.
Because you obviously have a positive view of all your interactions. And, not to get personal on this level, but to...
Yeah, not to get personal, but how does Steven Greer know that he hasn't been fucked by a reptilian alien or anally probed or fucked in his big fat vagina camel toe that he showed earlier? He could have got fucked, and then they implanted screen memories that they just sat around a campfire with them and sang Kumbaya. That was his alien contact. How does he know he wasn't anally probed? He could have screen memories. Good point, Kerry Cassidy. I give her a point for that.
Say that if I meet a being who thinks they've only had positive interactions with certain, ETs or animals or whoever they are, then I might look at that person and I might question, this is my issue. I might question whether or not that person really knows what they're having, because they might be screen memoried and they might actually be having some negative interaction in there and not know it. Now, obviously,
so you're back to the positive and the negative and the polarity.
But we live in a 3D level, and we are moving
see, this
to
is
the
the whole
4D.
point. Is that
Actually, it goes beyond that. So don't interrupt me, because I want to finish.
I don't think it's that simple.
Absolutely, and we agree on that. It is very complex. Right. We are multidimensional beings. We live on lots of different levels. We are spiritual beings first, and humans second. Okay. We actually are just inhabiting these human bodies at the moment, in my view. Okay. And I have had a number of samadhi experiences myself, so I totally know where you're coming from.
She has had a samadhi experience along with her Kundalini awakening and getting her superpowers.
With that,
I don't remember. I think this is before she got her superpowers. So she can't pull out I have psychic powers, and that's how I know that reptilian aliens are fucking people and eating them.
And I appreciate that. But that doesn't change the fact that it is extremely complex, this picture of what's going on here. None of us have all the answers. And to make definitive statements that we feel you are making out there, okay?
Don't interrupt me.
And to actually to put blinders on to such an effect, to say, there is nothing to be worried about at all, humans out there. Just worry about your own little playground. And meanwhile, out there
a nightmare.
Because I got to tell you, if you're aware of psychic
I got to tell you, Vanessa Thor, I have dated some crazy bitches, right? I have had some crazy bitch girlfriends, but none of them were anywhere near as crazy as this crazy bitch. Thank God. And I'm very fortunate. My wife is pretty easy to live with. Let's get back to this bullshit fest.
You have psychic perception, there are there are entities that do not have bodies that are negatively oriented. Now, negative again becomes a judgment. And how do you want to call
But
negative?
those aren't extraterrestrial.
I could say.
Now you're
I could say-
confusing the whole cosmological.
I'm not confused. On the contrary,
Okay.
I'm using an example.
And I've never denied that there were those kind of entities.
Okay, fine, but I'm saying if you
But
want.
those aren't
I'm
extraterrestrial.
using, I know
physical
that,
ent-
but I'm
Some of this may be
extrapolating.
definitional.
Let's extrapolate from there. I'm simply focusing right now on what you might term a negative entity, that it doesn't have a body.
Does anybody else think they ought to just stop this and jello wrestle for the win or mud wrestle each other? I would like to see that. And look at him with his tongue out. Maybe he wants to bang her. Look.
And I'm saying, or you could even say fire. Now, fire is an entity. It's you know, a non. It doesn't have a body. And yet it
No, you dumb bitch. It's an energy form and a form of matter. It's not an entity, you asshole.
it has a power, it has it can create itself. So in a sense, you could say it's negatively oriented if it burns your house, but on the other hand, it could keep you warm. So by the same token, we could find entities that are in physical bodies, again, spirits having a physical experience, which could be an ET, it could be us. It's so multidimensional. Don't you see what I'm saying? In other words,
absolutely.
if they are spirits as we are spirits,
Sure.
then they can be moved by the positive polarity as they could be pulled by the negative polarity. And it could look from the dimension of being in this 3D world that we're inhabiting called Earth, in this human body, in this experience, and how they impact us
God.
could in fact be ultimately negative to our growth cycle. And that is in fact.
I'm pretty sure that a reptilian alien fucking you would be negative to your growth cycle. So I guess I agree with crazy Kerry Cassidy.
Something that has been posited as a very real possibility.
Well, anything is possible. I mean, obviously, I just don't see the evidence for that. I do see the evidence for humans killing each other. I do see weapons in space where we have targeted these visitors.
I appreciate that.
And all of that. So, I mean, we can
Yeah.
talk in circles all day on this.
Sure.
My position is that there has
I think his position is that his bullshit is better than crazy Kerry Cassidy and Bill Ryan's bullshit. He's got better alien stories, bro.
not been an action against the Earth and humanity from an extraterrestrial, interstellar, physical civilization to here that I think would cause us to want to have a sort of armed conflict response. Now, are there experiences people have had that they interpret as negative? Absolutely. And I'm going to tell you something, if you don't like to hear this, but in a major trauma case, if a child comes in and there's no time for anesthesia, and I have to put a chest tube in the chest wall of that child, I must look like the most horrible monster and devil that ever lived. My motive is to save that child. My motive is to help that child. But to anyone seeing it who would just walk in from another planet or off the street, they go, what is that monstrous doctor? What are they doing?
What's he doing to that
And what
kid?
my motive is that I've got 5 minutes or less to save that child's life. And so all I'm saying is that the sort of
It's a matter
It's
of
like licking his lips
and
and
it is a
looking
matter
at
of perspective. And I think that's why I prefer to be cautiously optimistic, put out a positive view on how we should be interacting with this thing. It is not irresponsible. I am not insidious. And I think that these sort of characterizations are highly offensive, as I have never attacked you folks publicly. I found I was attacked on your blog today. It was unfortunate. But my perspective, I want to be very clear.
No, your philosophy was attacked. You were not attacked.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Actually, you were complimented.
But I just have to say that is why we're
Yeah, so she posts a blog post about him busting his balls right before she asked him for an interview. Great job, Crazy Cassidy.
we're wanting to be cautious because it is so easy for humans. I mean, look what happened after 9/11. I mean, it is so easy for humans to take shreds of information and then go on a war footing or go on a conflict footing.
We agree.
And
Spooky
this
with
is
just
the
taser, yeah.
inherent
interesting that you're
danger. This is
so-
the inherent danger of some of the
okay.
things that you're saying.
Yeah,
Is that it can shove humanity. Okay, and there's
Yeah.
one thing that, to have a private conversation about speculating about the motives and the agendas of the aliens. But when you start talking to the people of the planet about this, and you start putting out
Talk to
and
aliens.
positing that there are these, and use your word, and the polarity, negative and this and that, this would throw the planet into, and it would also throw the planet completely into the camp of Majestic, who for years has been trying to, and has also taken presidents aside like Reagan, and tried to convince them of exactly the argument you're making, so that he would spend hundreds of billions of dollars on SDI. And I think this gets into serious policy issues.
Yeah.
Okay, and I
You're
think I
making the jump.
have responsibilities here that you're not aware of. So to say I'm
I have responsibilities to teach people about aliens, bro.
irresponsible, you don't know what my responsibilities are. And therefore, no, you do not.
I want
And so what I'm saying here is that
I want to ask a question, which is I want to take this back. Now, just wait a second. Let's cool down. And I want to just make an analogy. Now, an analogy that I sometimes use, and it usually results in nods of agreement, is that we're like fishermen on a South Sea island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, having believed for generations that we're the only people in the whole world. And we're sitting around a campfire cooking our fish. And we're trying to figure out that big metal ship on the horizon. What do they want with us? That metal bird that keeps on circling around our island. What are they doing? And is it real? And did you see it? And all this kind of stuff. And we're trying to figure out the intentions, assuming that we believe in their existence, of these other beings that we're suddenly starting to realize might exist in our universe on this little tropical island. Now, the problem is that if we really do look at this as a human situation, which is quite real, really, what experience do we have as South Sea Island fishermen to figure out maybe they want to cut our trees down, maybe they want to save us because the sea level is rising, and
Maybe they want to fuck us and eat us, right? Like Crazy Cassidy says. Maybe they want to fuck us and eat us.
want to take us to another island, maybe they want our minerals, or maybe they want to convert us to Christianity, maybe they want to eat us, kill us, or maybe they want to make friends. And
He didn't mention
how
fucking.
do we know? And the danger is, and this is a question now, the danger is that I'm here around this campfire with you guys, and I hear you saying those other men in those big ships and those metal birds must be friendly. And I'm saying, wait a minute, we need to be a little bit careful here, because actually, even though we do get into fights on this little island every now and then, how do we know we can trust them? Maybe we can, maybe we can't. What's your experience? That's an attempt to characterize by analogy how complex this is. That's why I said that it was irresponsible, as I would do if I was around that campfire, as an elder of this community, saying, they've got to be friendly, we've got to trust them, we've got to trust them, we've got to trust them. This is what the Spanish said to the conquistadors.
Yes, but your metaphor is, again, an anthropocentric projection onto something that I think is non-applicable. And I think that in addition to that, I keep coming back to this, not only my personal experience, but the experience of hundreds of people, thousands of people that we have had involved with our diplomatic contact programs have not had any of these sort of experiences.
Yes, they're having diplomatic contact with aliens. They're not getting fucked and eaten, so they think aliens are good guys.
That would lend us to believe that there are civilizations that are hostile to the earth and to humanity. On the other hand, I have had many sources describe to me the program life forms, the military involvement with hoaxing abductions, a false flag operation to create an alien threat that we can unite against. So I have to go on the knowledge and the experience I have. And it isn't just observing something at afar, because we've actually had contact. And we've actually have more information than something just floating up above the island. So the analogy breaks down very quickly. And even if there was this potential for one or more of these planetary civilizations to be of concern to us, my answer would still be the same. There needs to be engagement. There needs to be a diplomatic détente. There needs to be a rapprochement. There needs to be
A rapprochement? What?
enlightened approach to this.
He must have ran out of big English words to try to confuse people with, because now he's just using foreign words to try to look smart.
Where we really move out of a sort of a duality that leads to conflict on Earth. I think that regardless of what your assessment of the agenda, the path of wisdom and safety is that. Because
we don't disagree with that, okay?
I agree fully.
Let's talk about
And it needs
where
to be
we
in the public
agree.
domain.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that's-
you know, I mean, we certainly agree on the end objective, okay? The end objective from our point of view, okay? We are not part of the military industrial complex, okay? We're doing what we do because we believe in truth, because we're dedicating our lives, and indeed our lives literally have been in danger because of what we believe. And
Just like the David Wilcox School of Grifting, you got to pretend that you've been threatened and your life's in danger because you're getting too close to the alien truth. And for her to sit here and say that she's dedicating her life to truth when she tells stories about reptilian aliens fucking and eating human beings with zero evidentiary support is ridiculous.
and we do it on a daily basis, and you of all people should understand this. So we're not taking this lightly, and our end result is not to be what they may desire as their ultimate end game. In other words, we're not here to support their end game, and we're not naive about what we're doing either. So neither of those things is true. Okay, we are not trying to promote a sort of a fear-based paradigm such that people get into a place where the only thing they can think of is to shoot ET in the head, to be graphic, or to, allow for space-based weaponry. I mean, we, basically agree with your philosophy in that way wholeheartedly. And in fact, I would say we are dedicating our lives to that. However, on the other hand, we are also not going to sit here and pretend that we know all the answers. And we're also not going to assume that all contact is positive. And on the contrary to what
You're free to assume whatever you.
Yeah, obviously we are.
Yeah.
But in terms of this discussion, and for the reason that we, you're sort of saying our blog thing, our posting was, you found offensive because we're saying what you're saying on stage. And again, you're on stage actually more often than we are, far more often. And I have to say, therefore, your responsibility is great. And perhaps your approach.
Yeah, Steven Greer, you have a responsibility to agree with Kerry Cassidy about reptilian aliens coming here and anally probing us and raping us and fucking us and eating us. How dare you shirk your responsibility?
Is a bit simplistic in that you are assuming that if you talk about the potential, that there are other things going on or potential for other ways of looking at the question, that the jump that the whole audience out there is going to make immediately is to fear and panic, and that they're going to jump on this bandwagon of the military industrial complex and all go out and grab their guns and knives and want to go shoot ET and fight with each other and other worlds and so on. That's
But
not
the problem is that
in other words, you're going.
I'm acutely aware that my position is the minority position. Okay. I'm acutely aware
Actually,
that.
that's not true either.
And that.
I mean, there are plenty of people out there that are advocating peace and love and getting on their cars and jumping up and down, please, ET, come save us because you're all good.
No, I would actually, I would challenge you to look at Hollywood, the UFO community, the books and videos that are out on this subject. They are overwhelmingly negative and terrifying. And I think that this is one of the problems, is that I think that one of the problems is that we have to look at this with a long view. And the long view, as I see it, and this is all.
The long view is it's a long con game, and we got to keep this con game going for decades. So we can't start talking about aliens raping people. We'll scare away the customers, crazy Kerry Cassidy.
All I can do is go by my own moral compass and what I think is right. I don't think I'm irresponsible. I don't think I'm simplistic and all these sort of characterizations. I think that I have a responsibility to help articulate a path forward
And he has a responsibility to collect as much fucking money from stupid people that believe his bullshit as possible.
That is wise, and that does not redound to further fear and panic and negativity on this planet, but that moves us forward in a positive way, and that can lead to what I am certain
Bring on
will
the
be
Space
future
Brothers
for this planet. And that's one of not only world peace, but universal peace, and a wholly, completely new, transformative civilization on this planet that isn't thousands of years off or even decades off now. I think it's very, very near. And so I think that that's what I wish to articulate. And there's no simplicity to it. It's actually a rather complex concept. And it's also a way of engaging spiritually. I want to share a dream I had. I don't share this very often, but
oh, he's taking a book from the Kerry Cassidy prover maneuver. He's going to prove shit that he's talking about by citing a dream he had. Great.
Back when my friend Sherry and I and another member of my team all got metastatic cancer at the same month, and we were all going to die. She died. But she was still alive. And Bill Colby had died, been killed, trying to help us just before this. And it was a terrible time, actually, for me. And I had a dream. And of course, I'm human. I was angry. I was mad as hell at what was happening to us. And I had a dream. I think I was in England doing some crop circle work. And in the dream, there were these giant lions were stalking me. And they were going to try to kill me. And it's because Dr. Tom Greer talks about the lions of this cabal. And I'd never heard him use that term at the time I had the dream. But here were these huge lions. And they were stalking me and they were going to kill me. And it was this lucid, full color dream. And I didn't run. I didn't get angry.
Big tears.
I didn't have hate in my heart. I opened my heart and went to a place of universal love and consciousness. And I engaged each lion in their eyes. And we were doing this, following each other around. And eventually they became so engaged with that energy that even though they had huge claws and fangs, they actually flipped over on their back. And I was petting them like this, like they were big pussycats. And we, had become completely diffused that situation.
Dr. Steven Greer is dreaming about petting pussycats, and that's some kind of proof of whatever the fuck bullshit is coming out of his mouth. This is crazy. We're up to the very end, folks. We'll see how this ends.
I use that as an analogy of a sort of an aikido spiritually of the engagement I'm endeavoring in, both with the public, with Majestic, with the visitors, and that's what I'm doing.
I understand.
And that's it in summary.
And I think that's a great. I think that's a great description of of your approach and what's motivating you. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that,
you.
Stephen. Thank
Steven
you.
Greer.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, friends. What a bunch of bullshit this was. Basically, it was an argument over whose bullshit about aliens was better.